Hey everyone, how is it going? It is your pal, Sal here. So it has been almost a month since I completed my Katy Perry discography journey, and after going through, I'm always constantly re-listening to the music I react to because you want to learn more, you want to grow as you listen. And now with it being almost a month later and I'm in my Janet Jackson journey, I feel after listening to these albums a few times, I feel very confident. Before I really wanted to take a lot of time with the albums I did last year, and I did every discography I did, and I did it towards the end of the year. I feel very confident that right now, sitting here in front of you guys about a month later, I can definitively rank Katy Perry's albums in my own eyes. This is not a definitive, what I believe critically is the best of them all. This is really a personal preference ranking for me. At the end of the day, that's the only thing. Every review is a personal preference at the end of the day too. And I really wanted to do this for you guys because I feel like I have a lot to say. I feel like Katy is an artist that I'm very glad to know all of her albums now. I'm glad that I know more of her material. It feels right to know her material, and I'm excited today to tell you guys what I think are her albums ranked from worst to best. And granted, I don't think any of these are even appallingly bad, but you know what I mean, that's the way that the list goes, you know. So Katy has a total of 6 albums, and yes, I know many people consider it only 5. In this household, it's 6, and I'll explain to you why when we get to that certain album in a couple minutes. Also, before I get started, I should say the Prismatic World Tour reaction is filmed, edited, and uploaded. I am just waiting for the copyright ban to get taken off, and hopefully the tentative date for that video to go live will be on March 5th. If not, then it might be a little later. That's what I'm hoping, because sometimes after the 48-hour copyright block goes away, they're just like, never mind, we're going to keep it for the whole time that it's there. So I'll maybe be a month after that. I apologize for that, but just know it's ready to go. I'm ready to go. That just is what it is. So there, you know that. So that'll be coming soon, so you can anticipate it. Thank you. And I think it's time to get started with ranking our discography of Katy Perry. So we begin with album number 6, and I can stand by this, and I'm so sorry if you love this album, but I feel like I'm going to be very kind in a weird way to it. Her 6th album for me is Witness. Now here's the thing, and I've stated this before in my video, I do not have a problem with Katy Perry doing more, like, anthem pop, not even anthem pop, like, what is the term that I keep here, like, purposeful pop, like, saying important, like, things in her music. That does not bother me. I think Katy has the voice and the means to do that. The problem with me with Witness is that I feel like this album is just very underwhelming. I feel like it never succeeds in what it's trying to do, whether that, I'm not really sure what Witness is necessarily trying to do a little bit of the time, but I don't think it completely fails at it either. I feel like this album is just stuck in limbo. I feel like that's where I feel like when I'm listening to it. I feel like Mind Maze, even though that's probably one of my least favorite songs on the album, is a good way to describe this album because your mind just doesn't know where to go. Like, are we saying something with this album? Are we not? I feel like the choice of using the debut, or the lead single, Chained to the Rhythm, says something. It says, like what I said in the reaction video, that most of us who listen to music today, especially in the world of streaming, are just chained to what Spotify tells us that we should listen to, what everybody else is listening to, that's what we have to listen to. That's what we have to like. I think that there's so much merit to that. But then I think calling the album Witness is kind of like not necessarily a cop-out to me, but Witness is just material that's like underwhelming to me. It's like, I need a witness. I want someone to witness life with me. And I'm like, okay, cool, but you can also be fine by yourself. I'm just saying. I think that if objectively now looking at this track list and looking what I would have done to start this era differently, I'm okay with the singles. Like, the singles don't bother me. Chained to the Rhythm, Bon Appetit, Swish Swish, those singles don't bother me, but I have this weird feeling, and I think some people have mentioned this to me, that if Roulette had been the lead single for this album, I think that the whole scene of the game, or maybe even the second single, I feel like that, actually, you know what, I would have been okay with Chained to the Rhythm being the lead single, the second single being Roulette. Roulette is a song that has grown on me. Roulette is an epic song. It is so good. It's dangerous. It's inviting. It makes you curious as to what's headed next, and you're like, whoa, this is really, really cool. But then there are other songs in here that I just don't, like I said, I don't think that this material just holds up all that well. Now, here's the other thing, is that I genuinely do enjoy listening to this album because I find it fun to listen to, but I think at the end of the day, it really stems from my main point. It doesn't know what it wants to be, but it neither succeeds at it nor fails at it, and that's the problem. I feel that it's just a little undercooked, and it's sometimes overcooked. Now, I will say my favorite songs, like I said, are obviously Roulette. I do like Hey Hey Hey. It's not my favorite, but I like it. The video is interesting. I have checked that out since then. I personally think that the best track off of the album is Miss You More. I think the idea of that lyric, I miss you more so much than I loved you. Like, now that you're gone, like, I love you so much, but when you're here, I was like, eh. Save as Draft, I like. I feel like I like it a little less than when I first listened to it, because some of the writing seems a little clunky to me, like, I write it, erase it. Like, it, I don't know. Maybe that's just more of like a me thing and me trying to be critical. But Pendulum is a great anthem. I love the gospel choir that comes in the back of it. It's one of the best tracks. Act My Age is probably the one that I had the strongest reaction to, but at the end of the day, I feel like it's kind of a step back for where this album was supposed to head. Great song, feel every lyric of it, but I think it was maybe not right for the album, or at least not where they were going. I feel bad for Witness. I feel so bad for what happened to Katy after this era. Like, had I been a Katy Perry stan, like, during this time period, I wouldn't have hated her. I would have just been like, I don't think this album is still really all that good, but I would have paid to go see the Witness tour. I would have had a nice-ass time. I feel bad for what this era did, but I also, I don't like it, but not for, I think, the reasons why a lot of other people didn't like it. Okay, album number 5 is the one album that many people consider does not exist in her discography because it's under the, well, here's the title, Katy Hudson, her real original name, I guess you could say. But here is my issue with why people discredit this album, is that we need this album. I think that this album is so vital, so important to Katy Perry's career, and we don't realize that. So here's the thing. Katy Perry came out in 2008. We're all like, okay, she's a new pop artist. 2008, Yahoo, where a bunch of other, you know, let's just say reductive artists could have come out too. Katy released this album in 2001. She has been in the music industry since 2001. These little girls of pop who are out here right now can't say that. It's very rare that you can say that. She has been here since close to the 90s when you think about it. 2001 was only 2 years after 1999. She has been here for a while. It was us who were late to the game. Now granted, I know not all of us are religious. I'm not either, so don't even think that that's where I'm liking the material on this. But I do think that the material is actually rather good in this album, especially for Christian pop. I mean, some of the songs I kind of take a little bit out of context, but I mean, that's something you could do too. I mean, some songs that are well beloved are technically religious songs, and we all take the context out of it. The only downfall of this album to me is some of her, less trained vocals, shall we say, but they're also kind of fun to listen to, so I do enjoy that. My favorite song on this album is easily Search Me. If you cut out the lyric where she's like, my father, it works really well as like being about your significant other, your friend. I think it's one of, Search Me is easily one in my top 10 Katy Perry songs. I love listening to it every time. It just has that early 2000s vibe to it. It's so pretty. The opening, Trust in Me, is a very beautifully haunting track. The Growing Pain, I'm telling you, especially after watching the Prismatic World Tour, it is a crime that Growing Pains has never been performed live by Katy. I mean, it's such a fun track. It's so good. I really do like that track. I think at the end of the day, the main holdback for Katy Hudson is that obviously it's a Christian pop album, so there's only so far that it can go versus some of her other albums. But I think it's really important that we start considering this album a part of Katy Perry's discography. I think it's vastly important. It's the true beginning. And I mean, I get it. Not a lot of people are religious and they're turned off by religious music. I don't think that this is the most, like, hardcore religious music you can listen to, but I think it's a good album in itself. And I'm happy that I listened to it. Most people who have reacted to Katy Perry's discography journey don't listen to this. And I'm like, I think that I would have been very angry at myself had I not done that. That when you do a discography, you got to do the whole thing, and we've got to stop discrediting that. Anytime anybody actually puts, because a lot of people when I did my Smile reaction, they were like, it's her 5th, not her 6th. It's her fucking 6th. I'm sorry. You can pretend like this doesn't exist all you want. It exists. I'm going through my Janet Jackson discography journey right now. Many people act like the first 2 albums don't exist. Guess what? They do. And we can pretend all you want that they don't, but they're here. They're queer. Well, maybe not Katy Hudson, but maybe when we get to a little bit of, you know, one of the boys and stuff like that, they're there. So, yeah, I'm sorry, but I like Katy Hudson, and I think that at the end of the day, it's a stronger, a little more cohesive project than Witness. Okay, album number 4 is her second debut, I guess, however you want to take it. One of the Boys. This is an album that I feel the one thing that I can definitely hear when listening to it is that this is 2 albums. As we all know, in between Katy Hudson and One of the Boys, she almost had released, like, I think 2 albums. There was the Katy Perry album and then the Fingerprints album, which a lot of these songs ended up on this album. It feels like very much like there's the singles, then there's the album tracks. Some songs I really have learned to love, but I feel as a whole, while again I do consider it better than Katy Hudson, there's a couple of issues, you know, just with like different sounds, different genres almost being presented. Obviously, it gave us the hits I Kissed a Girl, Waking Up in Vegas, Thinking of You, Hot and Cold. So I don't feel like I need to say too much about them because I knew them all before going in here, and I don't feel that differently here. The songs that really stick out to me are the ones that I actually have just learned. So first of all, I want to say this. I really do like the song You're So Gay. I think it's so funny because we've all been there. We all know, especially because I think of me, especially in high school, like I couldn't have been any more gayer, but I didn't know I was so gay. So a lot of people probably thought, you're so gay and you don't even like boys. I think it's funny. I think if you take it as a comedic piece, I feel like sometimes people are a little too like, that's not right to say anymore. And maybe necessarily not today, but knowing that she has no ill will towards gay people, especially, you know, I know that there's also the things like going on like with her parents and all that, but listen, I'm fine with her. I'm cool. I got no complaints about Miss Perry. I think it's funny. I really do. And that is coming from a gay, look at my wall. That is coming from a gay-ass man. I think You're So Gay is some of the funniest shit I've ever heard. I do like the song Lost. I think that that's a very pretty piece. Not my favorite, but really, it's really nice. I think one of the better songs too is Fingerprints. Now granted that came from like the Katy Perry Fingerprints sessions. I like it because like I said, at the end of the day, at this album, she's leaving her fingerprints on you. Like, you know that she was there. She's a little part, she's a part of me now. She's left her fingerprints on me. One of the best songs to me on this album, even though I don't really necessarily can't quite decipher its true meaning, A Cup of Coffee. I love that it just feels like a perfect song to play in a coffee house. I know that sounds so weird and so cliche, but I really do like A Cup of Coffee. I think every time it comes on, I'm like, oh, this is that little cute bonus track. What was the other bonus track? I Think I'm Ready. Yeah, I don't really remember that one all that much. I think that at the end of the day, I think I put this one above it because it still works really well as a cohesive project. It doesn't really have a set theme per se. But I think that's also what helps is that it's not going for too much. One of the Boys is okay. I've never liked that song. I'm talking about the song here. It's an okay song. I put a like next to it. But it's okay. But I think at the end of the day, this album is a good start, a good introduction to the Katy Perry persona of her career. Not the Katy Hudson side, but I do like this album. I think it's good, just not the greatest. Okay, album number 3. This is actually kind of shocking to me that I'm putting this at number 3. I really thought this would be my number 1. This album still is my favorite album of 2020. But I had to really look at things contextually, and as an album, I don't think this one holds up as strong. Still better than One of the Boys, but that is Smile. Now, as I've said before, this album is my favorite album of 2020. This album represented everything I feel like I was in 2020, especially with starting out being the heavy... No, I don't think the heaviest I've ever weighed, but close to the heaviest I've ever weighed, losing all that weight, having the world become a shit show, but feeling more at peace with myself, doing these videos for this channel. It's kind of been like a weird year, but honestly, I would say not my worst year, even though we're in 2021 now. I think the problem at the end of the day with Smile is that I think lyrically that this is probably my favorite Katy Perry album because it reflects me. However, when I take me out of the equation, I think the album is not as strong in its second half. I feel like that middle part really does... I don't like the songs in there as much. I think that's really what it comes down to. So, Never Really Over, iconic song, should have been a number 1 hit. I find it really bizarre. Now, granted, I know that it's like kind of technically how it works, but technically Daisies is the lead single considered off of this album, and I say fuck that. Never Really Over was the lead single. We can pretend like it wasn't, but it really was. I mean, come on. It was. I think Cry About It Later should be a single. I think that that's such a good song. Like I said, the first half of this album, especially since I have the Target LP, where it includes like the bonus tracks, so like the track listing it's not changed, but this is side A, this is side B. Daisies is such an incredible single. I think the reason why Daisies didn't do as well is because it's too smart for the people who are listening to music, for the people that are mostly streaming music today. It's too smart. It's not something that they can relate to as easily. It took me a little while to understand what that term, the daisies, meant. So I think that that's really what it came down to. One of her best songs of all time, if you ask me. It reminds me so much of Madonna's Ray of Light that it's a shame to me. I really do wish that this album had been pushed a little hardcore into more of that direction and Katy had devoted a little more time, because I think this could have been an even better album. I love the song Resilient. I think it's, again, one of her best. Smile is a great track. I don't like the Diddy version that's on the LP, just saying that right there. So as it comes to the second half, I don't really love Champagne Problems or Talk They're Cute. Harley's in Hawaii, I think, is an okay song. I kind of wish it wasn't on the album. And then the last two tracks are where it picks up. Only Love and What Makes a Woman, some of Katy's best tracks. I really wish What Makes a Woman had been expanded. I think that that could have been so cool. But Only Love, I can't wait for her the day she gets to do that live in concert on the Smile World Tour, if there's a God. Smile World Tour, please! This album is honestly, to me, lyrically, I feel like one of her best, because I think it's very personal. I think after going through everything she went through with Witness, she needed to make an album like this. And a lot of people just didn't listen to it. And I feel like, hey, listen, this is what I would say to people. I understand the fact that you did not like Witness. I get it. But Smile is much better than Witness. Maybe not necessarily your cup of tea, but it is better. I suggest you give it a listen. I love this era. I really do wish it had not been hindered by the pregnancy. Now, people would be like, that's a great thing. And I'm like, I'd rather have the world tour than the baby Katy, just saying. The fans were here first, not little Daisy Dove Bloom, I'm just saying. And so anyways, Smile, I think, is just honestly such a good era, a good point in her career. It's a shame that it went as under, what is the what term I'm looking for? It just wasn't really noticed by anybody, because I feel like people are done with Katy Perry. But I feel at least she's giving us smart, honest music, which is something that other artists who came out in 2008 aren't doing. So I appreciate that. Okay, album number 2 is iconically and honestly, the best album of the 2010s in terms of sales and everything. It's Teenage Dream. This album, now granted, like I said, I really didn't listen to this until just like a month ago in full, but it felt like it's been a part of my life for all these years, because there were so many hit singles on it that it really was just a couple of album tracks that I needed to learn. I love this album. I think the only thing that hinders the album, and it's also part of the charm of the album too, is that the lyrics are just a tad, teenage dreamy. The only song that I really have just grown to realize that I don't love is Firework, is because I've heard that song so many goddamn times. Although the performance she did for Joe Biden was incredible. My favorite tracks of this album are California Girls, Peacock, Last Friday Night, Circle the Drain, I'm Not Sticking Around, oh my god, the One That Got Away, E.T., I hate the Kanye West version, I hate Kanye West, and I really wish that that was not a thing, but it's not present when you listen to just the original version of the album, so that's good there too. Hummingbird Heartbeat, I learned that that's really about like having basically semen inserted into you, but you know what, it's still cute, and I appreciate that. Not like the movies, probably my least favorite of the ballads. Pearl, she used to be a pearl. The whole album is so good, so cohesive. Every song could have honestly been a single, and sometimes that can be a detriment to an album. It just makes it sound like a bunch of singles, but everything works so well together on this album. It's almost kind of weird. The reissue tracks, I don't know if I've listened to Dressin' Up all that much, but Part of Me and Wide Awake, iconic. I bought this, the Urban Outfitters record just a few days after I listened to the album. I got it on Amazon because I had a gift card. Couldn't be more proud to own this piece. I'm mad I wasn't there in 2010 to like fully appreciate it, but I'm here now, and that's all that truly matters. But yeah, I would say that it is technically the most iconic, but I don't consider it technically her best. Okay, album number 1, in case you couldn't guess, is Prism. This album takes everything that worked about Teenage Dream, having great songs, great catchy lyrics, everything about it, and made it even better. It made the lyrics smarter. It made the songs, the production smarter. This whole album is just so good from beginning to end. The only track that to me is honestly a skip is the bonus track Spiritual. That's just because it does nothing for me. You didn't really need it. I love the fact that this album is that it's a bop after bop, but every bop kind of makes you think, like with the way in the terms of what it uses. Especially like the one song that does that to me is like kind of like International Smile. Like that's just such a weird title, but when you listen to the song, you're like, this is like so weird, but it's so catchy, but it makes me think. Legendary Lovers is iconic. The singles, obviously Dark Horse, Roar, iconic. I think this album might have also like gotten brownie points for me because I did watch the Prismatic World Tour. Everything about this album is just so good from beginning to end. My favorite songs that I learned are Birthday. I love the bounce to that song. It's just such a triumphant song. Walking on Air. It is a crime that Walking on Air was not released as a single. That would have been such a huge hit. I love that it has those like 80s, 90s house vibes to it. It's just so iconic. It's so good. Unconditionally, beautiful, beautiful. Especially learning because I knew Smile before listening to this album. It's nice to know that she had not experimented with that kind of Ray of Lightish sound before Smile, and she did it here a little bit with Unconditionally. This Is How We Do, a bop. Not my favorite one, but I do like it. Ghost is okay. I think it works really well on the album. It's not my favorite. Love Me, This Moment, Double Rainbow, By the Grace of God. This is also to me why I think Katy Hudson is important, because clearly she's still in touch with her faith. So I feel like that still means that Katy Hudson is still connected to all of these albums in a weird way. The bonus track, It Takes Two and Choose Your Battle. I was really shocked when she did It Takes Two on the Prismatic World Tour because, I mean, it's a bonus track. You usually don't do bonus tracks on tour. But this whole album is just great from beginning to end. Lyrically, it's so smart. Katy's vocals are great. The production is stellar. And I think at the end of the day, this is like this to me is her magnum opus, because I think it takes everything from the last 3 albums, technically 4 because of the Godly song. Wait, is it 4? So Katy Hudson, one of the boys, team. Okay, so the 3. Takes everything about them and puts them all together, and it works so well. Okay guys, so that is my ranking of Katy Perry's albums. How would you rank them? And also, if you do rank them, I'm sorry, if you're going to comment in my comment section, this is also me being a little joking, but I mean it. You have to include Katy Hudson. That's the only option I give you, because it counts. It counts, baby, it counts. So let me know what you guys think of her albums below. I am so grateful that I know more of Katy's music now. Out of the pop artists that came out in the late 2000s, well, technically she's been here since 2001, but since everybody likes to consider it 2008, I mean, out of all of them, I feel like she's the one that is most individually, while she's influenced, she'll always announce her influences, and she's unapologetically herself and not copying anybody else. And I appreciate that. It's very hard to find in the pop music industry these days, but I appreciate someone who just seems like their own being, especially right now too, because like she's been kind of like MIA with her baby, which granted, still the fans were here first. You know, while she's still MIA, she's doing her own thing. I feel like I appreciate that, and I admire that. So, yeah. Again, comment below what you think. Let me know your listing, and I will see you guys very soon, hopefully very soon, with the Prismatic World Tour reaction. I'll literally look the same. I'm wearing the same shirt in it. I filmed it like a few weeks ago, so it's like weird to me that I still have not gotten it up online. But thank you guys so much for joining this video. I'm so glad you enjoyed my Katy Perry reaction journey. Hopefully if you are checking out my Janet Jackson one and my Cher one, it means the world to me. Thank you guys so much. You have a great day. This is how we do it here on this channel. Bye.